We got a lot of good stuff, and I'm really excited that today we get to kick off our book signing that is happening in August with Ms. Goldie Wynn. We've got her book, A Journey of Redemption, Rainbow in the Night by Jane Goldie Wynn. And this is very exciting. On Friday night, August 20th, we are having a book signing here, so we thought what better way to kick it off than on some Friday fun after hours. Learn about her book and hear some spectacular music.
You got camera 3 on Goldie?
We got camera 3 on Goldie. We're going to bring her over. Our crew's working really, really hard this week, and thanks to everyone for their patience on what we've been dealing with for some electrical acts of God, is all I can tell you.
Yes, we actually are piecing together so we can get the music and everything else in here. Just bear with us. But you know, it is what it is.
We've been piecing together all week, and just when you think you pieced, we're still piecing. That's the beauty of glue.
Well,
it's the juju.
All week we've been talking about business shout out, you know, getting WNN radio back on in people's conversations. It is the only talk radio in Boca Raton. And we've asked people to come in here. We're going to give everybody a shout out, an opportunity to go up there and shout out what they do, how they do it, and to network with one another, because that's what the name of the game is. And you know, Robin says, I'm coming back and staying.
All the way from North Carolina.
Well, you know, I live here as well, so I'm actually all the way from Parkland.
All the way from Parkland via North Carolina in 11 hours.
Not that far.
So we've got a whole lot going on.
I spend my summer time in North Carolina, but come back and forth and spread the bling.
Spread the bling.
So Goldie's doing a book signing.
Goldie, can we get you over on the mic? It's lovely.
Goldie,
Is
stop taking pictures. Stop taking pictures. Goldie's taking pictures.
Goldie's coming August 20th, and her good friend Sherry and Ruth Heller are in the house. Rainbow in the Night, A Journey of Redemption. And we're going to be launching this book here, post-COVID situation, on August 20th, a Friday night. So definitely you want to come down and join the fun. But let's talk about this book.
Okay.
This book took you a little bit of time to write. How long did it take you?
What do you want to know? Yes, actually, it took me 20 years to write this book.
Wow.
20 years.
20 years. I know, oy vey, right?
Oy vey.
That's 20 years of material in this book?
There was a lot of material in the book, but because it was all about my life, I really couldn't write about my life if I wasn't in a place where I was healed and I moved on from some of my painful past. So it took me a while to do that, because obviously it doesn't happen overnight. And once I got to the place where I really felt I had surrendered everything to God, and I became free, and then I could sort of put my past behind me and write from this place of true freedom and redemption, then I could finish the book. And it was right at that time, about the time where I believe God sent me my publisher, and she just felt from the Lord that she was supposed to publish the book. She's actually an author herself. And it then moved forward pretty rapidly. So, and my dear friend Sherry Heller over here, who's an amazing artist and a sculpture artist, I know you've been showing some of her sculptures, she actually painted the cover to my book. So she got the inspiration for it. This little girl sort of looking up into the rainbow in the night. And the reason I chose the title Rainbow in the Night is because there is such a thing as a lunar rainbow, and you can't see it with the naked eye, but it is there, and all the colors are there. And I felt that that's how my life was emerging, that as I got better and better, all the colors shone very brightly, and then I could share from a place of strength, so that it wasn't like affecting me anymore or bringing me back to the past. It was just like, oh, this doesn't even seem like it was me anymore, because I was so far removed from it. But the Rainbow in the Night just really tells all the stories that the true colors came forth, and I was able to write from that perspective.
And you've had some rough moments in your past in the book that
Yes.
you talk about, including growing up, how you grew up and came from an affluent family, and you lived, right? Your father was a psychiatrist.
Well, you have a great memory, Dawn.
But that had a really big impact. And what
Yes.
I really want to bring home is a lot of people say you should forget your past and move forward.
Right.
But I'm a true believer that we shouldn't forget it.
Right.
we should use it to empower ourselves if it's something we didn't like, and if it's something that was good, then continue to empower
Right.
ourselves. And I have a feeling that's kind of what you did. Can you give us a little bit of insight into that?
Yeah, that's excellent. What really happened, and I guess what was the biggest challenge for me, is my father was a very high-profile psychiatrist, and I wrote about it in the first chapter of the book because we lived in a state mental hospital. Yes, right in a state mental hospital in the 1950s, when my father arrived to take over, becoming the superintendent, there were 1,100 patients, and many of them were very dangerous because it was before the psychotropic medicines. So I had a very interesting childhood living in that environment, as you can imagine. And my father was so well respected that when he would come down the stairs in the morning, the entire staff would rise to their feet in respect for him because he was very patriarchal and very powerful. But it was very hard because behind closed doors he was very different. He was physically and emotionally abusive to my older sister mostly, and to myself. And it was just hard to bridge those two worlds because the world respected him so much. I mean, he traveled all over the world. He was in Who's Who in America and did so much good to reform the mentally ill. And I talk more in detail about that in the book. But by the time he retired in 1978, the census had gone from 1,100 down to 270. And the hospital is still open to this day. So I share in the first chapter many memories about what it was like to live in the hospital and some of the stories with the patients. And it's fascinating because many people don't even know that state hospitals once existed, let alone having lived in one. So it's
And then you're
definitely...
going to talk about what it was like being a child of the 70s.
Yes, yes. I also talk about that. If you ever saw Forrest Gump, I was Jenny. Hippie. What can I tell you? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And that was just a very interesting time in my life. And you know, I guess just like everybody else at that time in my life, I didn't have a very good self-esteem. So when people started to tell me about the hippies and, you know, why not try this and why not try that, I just wanted to fit in. So of course I did. But there are always consequences to our negative decisions. And once I started, you know, using the drugs and ended up living in a commune, I eventually found myself pregnant. And that was a very traumatic event in my life in 1970. And I didn't know what to do because I knew that my father could possibly disown me. So I didn't tell him about it. And it was before Roe versus Wade, which was in 1973, but some states legalized abortion. And abortion was legal in California. So I ended up going out to California for the abortion. And it was a very traumatic episode in my life. And it took many, many years for me to come to full terms with it. But the redemptive part of the story is that now, moving it to present day, I'm actually working in a pregnancy clinic as a client advocate, helping women who are coming in with crisis pregnancies, helping them to really look at the big picture, because many women choose abortion out of fear, and they don't really think about the bigger impact on their lives. So we want to be able to present to them all of the options and help them to understand both sides of the abortion issue. So it's a wonderful thing to be able to bring it full circle.
And at some point, I mean, growing up Jewish, which we talk about in the book, things have changed a little bit for you. Is that what changed your ability then to finish the book and share it with everyone, or was that your pivotal moment?
That was a pretty pivotal moment, yes. I had met my husband, Dave, and, you know, we had the opportunity to go west to Mankato, Minnesota, because I dropped out of college for a while because I got pretty traumatized from the abortion. So I dropped out and had to do some very intensive therapy. But then when I was ready to go back to school again, I was accepted at Mankato State University in Mankato, Minnesota. And so I said to Dave, do you want to come out west with me? And he said, why not? So we moved out there, and it was very interesting. And we had the opportunity. We're musicians. And when we met each other in 1971, we started doing music right away. We've always done music together. And in those days, we had the opportunity to go on the road with a group that was called the Honky Tonk Revival. And we had the fastest honky tonk player in the world. We had a banjo player. We had a drummer. I was a singer. Dave played up upright bass. And we toured all around the 5-state area, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, all the states, North Dakota, South Dakota. But I had this epiphanal experience one day when I realized, I'd graduated finally from college and I had my degree, but I put it aside to go on the road as a professional singer. But I realized as I was singing to these drunk audiences, it just wasn't fulfilling. And I just became depressed. And I remember one day just running out into the woods by myself, because we lived in a motorhome as we traveled. And I cried out to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I said, if you're real, please reveal yourself to me. Otherwise, I want to die. And I just felt this blanket of peace just come over me, this blanket of peace, as though he had really heard my prayer. And then as the Lord would have it, I had the opportunity to go back to the small town of Mankato. I quit the group. Dave stayed in the group for a while. And I started working in a drug agency to try to help kids not go the direction that I had gone with drugs. And there I met this girl that had so much joy, and I was just drawn to her. And so I was able to meet her, and she told me her own story where she was depressed, but then she came to accept Jesus as her personal Lord and Savior. And when she did that, she just had all this peace and joy, and her whole life was transformed, and the depression lifted. And I thought, yeah, but I'm Jewish. There's no way I can accept that God, because we were taught growing up, it's we the Jews and they the Gentiles. So that was, the two were very far apart. And she said, well, just see what the Lord does. And Dave and I were invited to a prayer meeting. And at the prayer meeting, we saw these gospel singers, and they were singing, they had their hands raised and they were singing their songs to Jesus. And everybody around us had all this joy and they were singing to Jesus. And I remember looking at Dave and saying, maybe that's what we're missing. Maybe we're missing God. And so they kept inviting us back. And on August 4th, 1974, Dave and I got on our knees together and we prayed to invite Jesus, or his Hebrew name Yeshua, into our hearts as our personal Lord and Savior. And from that moment, our lives changed. And somebody came to me and said, Goldie, your gift is the gift of joy. And that joy entered my life immediately. And I was immediately transformed. And then Dave and I, because we were living together, well, not, we weren't married, in other words. In those days, that wasn't cool. So we got married. Actually, this was August 4th. We got married November 23rd of that same year. And we've been married 46 years. Wow. And I will say that the Lord has truly been the center of our marriage. And as you said, Dawn, yes, it's true that pivotal moment in my life has changed everything. How I look at the world, how I believe, how I treat other people. So, yes.
And every time you're here and your friends are here, and Sherry and Rick, I have to tell you, you fill this whole space with joy and happiness, and
Aww.
Nothing seems like a big deal. You walked in this morning and we're having some soundboard issues, and you're like, well, that's easy. And then Dave puts his stuff in the back, goes, that's okay, the bar is in the way the other way. That's easy. Nothing phases you guys. And Sherry and Rick as well, when they sat here, it was all just,
Aww.
This is the message, and I guess from God that this is all okay, and that was easy.
Well, you guys have been through the music ups and downs. You've been on the road, you've been in concerts, you've been in different places. You blow a mic, and somebody comes out with a mic from the audience and what have you. It happens.
But they are just totally rolling with us today.
Oh.
And today, like every other day when you're here, we always have a few things going on at the same time. And you guys just sit down and go, okay, when you're ready, we'll do what we got to do and make it easy.
Yeah.
What is the message of your book? Why now?
Well, that's a great question, Dawn. Well, actually, I feel that the timing of the book is perfect, now to be able to start doing book signings post-pandemic, because so many people were depressed during those 18 months, right? We were all isolated. We didn't know what the future would bring, and nobody could go anywhere or do anything. So my book had just been published December of 2019, so there was no real time to get out there into the world and promote the book. So it was, as things started to emerge and things got better, I thought, wow, this really is a perfect time for the book to come out. And this is a perfect time for me to start speaking to people and getting out into the world, because people need hope. They need encouragement. They need to know that better days are ahead. We need to have faith even when things around us look like they're falling apart. We just have to trust God and look forward with great joy and anticipation. So I really felt, because the book is all about hope and encouragement, that this is really the time for it.
Amen.
It's interesting you say that. Somebody at the beginning of the week came up to me and they asked me, Gesundheit.
She sees some truth.
And somebody asked me, do you think that the end is now? Are we at the end now
Of the pandemic?
of life?
Oh.
If you read, what is it, Apocalypse, whatever, if you read about fire and all of this stuff in the good book, it talks about how the world is going to end and what have you. And they came to me and they were reading, you could see the fear in their eyes. And they said to me, do you think that this is the end? Are we entering the end? Every time you turn on the news or something else, it's another disaster.
Yes, yes.
There's another building this morning
Yes,
partially collapsing. And it isn't the end.
right.
It's the beginning. I think that's the end of what we didn't do. And it isn't, I think that with your book, it's taught you to write it today and make you who you are today, which makes you better. It was your journey
Yeah,
to learn.
yeah.
I think that's fascinating. And I'm looking at some of the people in here, like that lady over there, and she's looking at me and she's smiling because she sort of understands what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But your timing could not be better.
Right.
What we need is more of you. We need more people to think this way. And I'm glad that it hit you, that it was that overcoming and this and this and that. Those are the things we need to do. We got to stop worrying about things that fail. Man, if I had a nickel for everything in my life that failed, I'd be a very wealthy man.
It's funny you say that because this morning I was reading an article talking about why do we look at our failures. And you guys, I'm going to ask you for a trio camera because I want Eileen and Wayne in on this also. Why do we look at our failures as failures and our successes as successes? What if some of our failures and the things that we didn't go right are actually what's
But why
leading
do
to
we-
our successes?
No, but why
Yes.
do we look at
Why
the
do we
failures?
label the failures failures
Right.
Yeah.
when maybe that's what's going to lead us to a success?
That's exactly it. And that's really, again, one of the messages of the book, that if I had stopped in the pain, then that would have been the case. But it's the pain that just opened up the door for me to really get past it and to be totally freed and surrendered so that it could be a success. So that's a great
That's
point,
what
Dawn.
I was
Yeah.
reading that this morning thinking, you know, we look at the cable blew out or we didn't get a deal or this client left, whatever it is you look at in business or in life or your kids move away, maybe that's not a failure. Maybe what we're looking at is it's an ultimate success
Yeah.
if we truly look at the messages of what it is.
Yes.
So I have to bring Eileen Lemelman in on this conversation. She is starting a new show with us. I'm going to let you just grab your mic. And we've got Wayne Henry with us, and Wayne's been with us for a very long time. What do you think about success, failures? I mean, all of Goldie's story, Eileen.
So as I listen to you, Goldie, I
you
am
text them next week?
just blown away.
Aw.
Because here I am. I had an amazing week. Started my new show. It all starts with you. And the reason I am here today is exactly what you talk about.
Wow.
Transformation, change, transition.
Wow.
And I don't look at the pandemic. Maybe initially I did. I was scared. I was very scared.
Yeah.
And I was it was very uncertain. There was a lot of anxiety. I look at it as it was given to me as a gift. It gave me space and time and opening for possibilities and new things.
That's wonderful.
And here I am. Here I am in a new place. I'm a psychotherapist.
Okay.
I work very, very long hours with people that have been struggling, not only now, but their whole lives with
Yeah.
anxiety, depression,
Yeah.
grief, sadness, transition. How am I going to be happy? What am I going to do in this world? And I realized that that's my mission. I have to help people
Yeah.
to transform, to change, validate whatever they're going through. So I'm going to end today, this little talk that I have, with an affirmation, which is what I do always. And I like to give an affirmation. I am stronger, wiser, and confident with each day. And let's end on a little levity, okay? I saw something the other day and I thought, this is great. So I'm going to leave this with you. If cauliflower can become pizza, then we can do anything.
I love it.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Goldie, tell us when the book signing is, how do people get tickets, all of that good stuff.
Okay, yes. The book signing is going to be right here in this very studio, August 20th from 6 to 8. It's like if people are working, it's right after work. We're going to have wine and cheese and a few giveaways. And I'll be sharing more about the book. People can ask questions. I have a couple of people I work with that will be coming and share how the book has impacted them. And it'll be just a nice interactive time, you know, to get the message of the book out there. And if people want to purchase it, they can. And I think it'll be this great launch. You know, we're back. We're out here. We're reinventing ourselves.
This is
And
amazing. It
we
brings
don't have to stay
awareness
stuck
mental health.
anymore.
It brings awareness to so many things that
Yes.
are going on now that went on then. As you always say, if we don't learn from our past mistakes, we are bound to repeat them.
Yes.
So check out this book. You can actually get it ahead of time. Where?
Well, you can get it. You can go to my website, JaneGoldieWin.com, and that's Jane, and Goldie is Goldie, Win, WINN.com. And if people want to come to the book signing, they can either text me at 215-990-7752 or my email, goldila@gmail.com, and just let me know. We already have about 6 people signed up, so I guess we probably can have, about 30 or so?
We'll figure it out as we
We'll
roll
figure it
along.
out. So we'd love to have you. I think it'll be just a fun time and just a chance for us to share together and encourage one another.
And some amazing music. So we're going to head out to commercial break.